Good afternoon, welcome along to Matchday Live and welcome to the Etihad Stadium. This is Matchday Live. My name is Cel Spellman and as always, an absolute treat to be with you this afternoon as we bring you all the build-up to our Premier League game against Fulham. I can bring you our starting 11 right away, and I can tell you there are 5 changes to that midweek win in the Champions League, which of course pushed us into that all-important top 8 place. Let's see how we're lining up then. I can tell you that man there is starting. Phil Foden keeps his place. We have Ederson in goal. At the back, Rico Lewis. What a start to the season he's had. Akanji, Ruben Diaz, who wears the captain's armband, and Josko Gvardiol complete the back 4. Moving into midfield, Kovacic, Gundogan and Bernardo. Or could that be Phil Foden in there alongside Mr. Jack Grealish and Erling Haaland. The big man there starts again alongside the man behind him. That completes our starting 11. And what completes our starting lineup here in the Matchday Live studio is Kit and Paul. Good afternoon, gents, and thank you to you for joining us. Kit, mixture emotions, of course, because both clubs that you played for, of course, managed as well at Fulham. How are you feeling about the game today? Yeah, looking forward to it. I think Fulham are in great form, starting the season really, really well. But City obviously keep churning out these wins, and it's been a real good start to the season. I think City who traditionally start a little bit slowly, but sitting in a great position. So it should be a good game of football today. Should be a great game of football, Paul. Let's dig straight into that starting 11. I want to begin actually by the Phil Foden, Bernardo Silva, because we had it listed that maybe Bernardo in the middle, but we saw in the middle of the week when Phil comes on, it's usually Phil in the middle and now Bernardo on the right. Do you think that would probably be the order of the day today?
I think so, but I've stopped trying to second guess what Pep's going to do a long time ago.
Smart.
Yeah, but you know, we have seen Bernardo wide and Phil in the middle, and I think whatever position both of them play, they're such intelligent footballers, and they might interchange within that as well. You know, and I think having Kova and Gundo in the middle of the park as well, and Rico Lewis will probably go in there. It might give Bernardo and Phil a little bit more freedom to not go where they want, but find the little spaces, little pockets that they like to do and cause Fulham problems. Just off that as well, we've seen this season, Paul, that the start to the season that Savinho's had. We see him get him off the bus there. He is on the bench. He's really enjoyed playing Savinho and Doku, those quick, fast, brilliant at one-on-one. So why do you think he's maybe gone for more of the controlled players, so to say, in Jack and maybe a Bernardo or Phil instead of them two against Fulham? I think that part of it's maybe rotation as well. You know, Jack, to be fair, looks really fit, looks really strong. Yeah. He looks like the Jack from not last season, the season before. He's a great pre-season. Being back in the England squad, I think, gave him a lot of confidence as well, and you're seeing that in his play. And Bernardo and Phil, they're just wonderful footballers. And I think when Doku and Savinho have been playing, Peps tend to want massive width on the pitch because they both hug the touchline. With Fulham maybe sitting in there today, they're going to try and look to get little pockets in between their midfield and back 4, and there's no better player than doing that than Phil Foden. No, there really, really isn't. Moving to the back half of the pitch, Kit, I mean, we've seen City concede a couple of early goals here, you know, Ipswich, Brentford. What does this back 4 need to do today to limit that Fulham threat and try and get that all-important clean sheet? Well, it would be nice, yeah, like I say, clean sheets have not been sort of forthcoming really I think conceding the last 8 home Premier League games or something, so a clean sheet would be great. And I mean, you know, this back 4 and obviously the keeper behind are more than capable of keeping a clean sheet. But back to the earlier point, I think with the wide players who'll be there, the more controlled ones, like you say, Fulham are good on the counter, you know, they got pace. So I think having more control in the game will suit City, and that's what they'd want rather than a basketball game end to end. They won't want to sort of concede that much space to Fulham. So I think, you know, it's incredible. I think Pep picks the teams sort of weeks in advance almost and it is rotation, like you say, but he picks almost in his head, I think, which players are going to play in which game will suit them better. The level of preparation these days is absolutely incredible. John Stones, Paul. No, it's a great point Kit made about the wide players, because, you know, Doku and Savinho, they have been fantastic. Brilliant. Yes. But they're really dynamic. They want to get at them, and it doesn't always come off, which then Fulham looking to counter-attack. But if it's Phil or Bernardo out wide, and especially Jack on the other side, the control they bring to the team is what Pep wants. I think John Stones as well was speaking earlier on in the week as well, that
you know, we don't have the biggest squad, I think, that people think we do, but what we do have is like each player has different assets, and that kind of reinforces Kit's point, is that he can choose the players that maybe will suit different opponents better, so to speak, which I guess is so important, particularly wanting to compete on all fronts, Paul.
It is, and it's not so much the size of the squad, it's the quality that's in there as well. You know, you look at that team today, there's 5 changes in the last game, and you could possibly go on and say that's one of our strongest teams we've got without Rodri in there. And then you look at the players on the bench. So yeah, it is not the biggest squad, but Pep's shown since he's been here that he likes the camaraderie, the tight-knit, smaller squads that he wants, but with loads of quality in there as well.
Obviously, we saw John start, and he's one of the players to move to the bench, but the preferred centre-half partnership, if for want of a better word, at the moment seems to be Ruben Diaz and Akanji, and I've not really had a chance to focus on Akanji this season. So why do you think that he's always turned to Akanji, and how impressed have you been with him in the start of the season?
Akanji's been fantastic, yeah, he's a top player. I mean, obviously got good pace, and seems to be that understanding as well. Him and Diaz have created a really good understanding. But then, like I say, you know, you slip John Stones in there all day long, and Nathan Ake when he's back fit. You've got, as Dickie was saying, the quality within the squad. You can make, you know, 9, 10, full 11 changes and still be ridiculously strong, you know. And that's the real quality of the squad that's been assembled. And I say there's a lot of thought gone behind it. And as you said, Kel, as well, a lot of the players bring different qualities, a different way of playing. And you even think about Núñez with his ability running with the ball. He's maybe not done as well as people would have hoped overall, but he's a player who brings something very different as well. The wide boys we spoke about, really dynamic and can get out at people. It's a different way of playing and poses different teams different problems, and it's all part of the Pep master plan.
Yeah, it really is.
With John as well, it's managing his minutes.
Yes.
You know, he has been susceptible to injuries, and he didn't have a full pre-season, been away with England, and came back in, had a little niggle. So I think more than anything else, it's managing his minutes from now, possibly up until Christmas.
Yeah.
So we see the best, the strongest John Stones for the January onwards.
You mentioned Ake there as well. Some nice positive news from Pep's pre-match conference earlier in the week, talking about hopefully he'll start to be trickled back after the international break. He is back on the pitch training, which is great. Obviously, sadly, we had the terrible blow of Rodri more or less being out for the season. We're now starting to try and see how do we fill the void of the best player in the world. And interestingly, today I think we saw Rico played in the middle alongside Kovacic a couple of weeks ago. This time it's Kovacic and Gundogan. How do you think that will fare, and what does that bring to this City team, Paul?
Yeah, but I still think we'll see Rico in there more often than not. You know, we all know that Pep likes him to go inside. He can play in midfield. So I think it'll either be Rico and Kova in there, maybe Gundo a little bit further forward to try and make the little runs in between defenders that we all know he's so good at doing. But, you know, whatever ones are going to be in there. I think every game, Kel, now from now to Rodri's back, people are going to ask who's going to replace Rodri, because he's that important to us all, you know. And in a game like today, having Kovacic has been fantastic.
Yes.
I think that's been under the radar a little bit from people outside the club.
Agreed.
His experience, people forget he's won 4 Champions Leagues. You know, he's been at Real Madrid, he's been at Inter Milan, Chelsea. The experience he's got in there, and he's so well respected from his teammates as well. And Gundo, what more can we say? You know, so the experience of the two of them in there will more than likely make up from the loss of Rodri, as big as a blow that it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the thing. Normally, you would think Rodri being out would be a catastrophe, but it's not here at all. There's no panic whatsoever because you've got these players available as well.
Yeah.
And the top players. So, you know, Kova, as Dick says, has been excellent, and Gundogan coming back was like obviously gave everyone a huge lift as well. So suddenly you're looking at the starting 11, you're like, that's not.
We're doing all right.
We're happy with that.
Well, yeah. Kit as well, I wanted to ask, because obviously you've managed as well, and you know, finding solutions seems to be something that, you know, Pep almost gets a bit of a kick out of almost. You know, even if you think back to last season, you know, we were without De Bruyne for 5 months, Erling Haaland for 3 months, and yet we still went on to win the league, and he found solutions. Is that part of the buzz of being a manager, is when, you know, all right, you're given a hand that maybe you didn't want in Rodri being out, but actually he goes, well, okay, what could we do something different and find something new?
I think that's exactly it. You know, like say and when Kevin does come back, what a lift that gives everyone as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's finding a way in the meantime, and again, Pep's a master at that. You know, I mean, he's got some fantastic players because he's assembled such a good squad. he's always got options, even with such influential a player like Rodri being out.
Yes.
Still got great options and creativity throughout the side.
We always champion Phil in here, Paul. I know obviously something that you've been able to follow since he was a kid, really. He spoke about as well, obviously he's had a slow start to the season. He had that illness as well, coming back obviously from the international break over the summer as well. But him saying he's starting to feel more like himself, and we don't really need to point out but the importance. But how exciting is it that we're starting to see that Phil of last season, of course, was Premier League Player of the Year?
I just love watching him play football. One of the main reasons is you can tell that he loves playing football. You know, he wants the ball all the time. If Man City play well last season, especially, it was because of Phil. And when Kevin spoke about Kevin being out for 5 months, it was as if Phil, as a young boy, thought, this is my time to show everybody what I'm all about. You know, people knew what a great player he was. There was always this up-and-coming prospect. I think he finally believed that he'd landed and that he was one of the main men in the team now. And, you know, great to see him back the other night there because he looks so sharp.
Yeah.
And his versatility as well, he can play anywhere. You know, we've seen him play as a false nine sometimes, left, right, in the middle. And he's just a wonderful player, and I think we look so much better when he's in the team.
He seems to as well, Kit, which I think you touched upon it last season, was that he's matured a little bit more in a way of going like, well, I am the man now. And I guess when you lose such a big player like Rodri, it's nice to know that you've got a Phil there who is starting to take games by the scruff of the neck and going, I can be the man.
I think that's, again, part of the environment that Pep creates, and it must come from every day in training that, you know, you've got your, obviously, your Erling Haalands and your Rodris, who they know are top players and almost irreplaceable in their positions.
Yeah.
But everyone else wants to step up and take responsibility as well. So it's a team in an era now where there's not that many leaders, in my opinion, now in football. You know, City are trying to assemble a team of leaders.
Yes.
And everyone steps up and wants to take that responsibility. It almost becomes part of the ethos and the culture, and how, again, it comes from the everyday.
Yeah.
Training day in, day out, and what Pep's trying to achieve. And you see, like I say, a young lad like Phil Foden, still a young player,
still young, 24,
stepping up and really taking that and wanting that responsibility on his shoulders. But I think it runs throughout the team, throughout the club.
Well, can you coach that, or does that have to come from the players themselves? I know you mentioned about the environment.
I'm not sure you can coach it, but you create the environment, and it's something Pep's done. People talk about the environment and bandish the word, oh, we want a good environment. You've got to make it. You've got to, and then the players have got to buy into it, and then they run it, and it's a culture. It's a ever evolving thing, if you like, and that's what City seem to have here. You know, we get problems coming our way, deal with it, no problem, and overcome it, because the players almost relish it and want challenges to overcome, to show how good they are week in, week out, and they just keep on doing it.
The players know that they've got to keep their levels at the very, very top, or they won't be in the team. And Pep showed that. You know, he can be ruthless at times as well.
Yeah.
We've seen it with Jack. We've seen it with Kevin sometimes, and he's took him off.
Yeah.
When Erling wasn't quite at it sometimes last season, he's got no qualms of saying, right, if your level's not going to be there, you're not going to play. So all the players know that when they go out there today, in any game they go out to, that the levels have got to be so high, because they want to stay in the team and they want to play all the time.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we've won as many trophies as we have, and won the last 4 Premier League in a row. We need to keep our levels high here in the studio as well. Do you know what I mean? They keep it very tight there in the gallery behind us. Let's go down to someone who never drops their levels. Mr. Alistair Mann is with Andy Morrison, who's part of your commentary team today.
Thanks, Kel. Welcome to Pitchside. As you can see, former City captain Andy Morrison is with me on commentary duty today. Andy, you've had a chance to look at the team, 5 changes. What strikes you about it?
I think it's impressive that Rico's in again. You know, firmly established himself now, you know, as a starter. And, you know, I thought it might have been, with looking at the pace that they do have on the break, that maybe Kyle would have played. But no, I like the shape. You know, Rico popping alongside Kovacic to make that kind of box with the 2 10s, which is obviously Gundogan and Foden, and then the 3 up top. I think Bernardo might play a little bit deeper on the right-hand side, because Robinson explodes, and when he goes, and he's very hard to track from a deeper position. So I expect to see Bernardo a little bit deeper to start the game.
Pep's already been asked a few times about how you fill the Rodri void. What do you make about the way he's tried to do it so far?
Well, you can't fill it. You know, that the reality is, you know, he's the best all-round footballer for me in world football over the last 2 or 3 years, and that's not just my blue tinted glasses. I firmly believe that, Ali. So it's very hard to, but looking at just maybe different systems and different ideas of, Kovacic carries the ball more. Rodri rotates the ball, lends it, gets it back, where Kovacic carries the ball through space and changes the pitches that way. And Rico's just playing so well, so intelligent that just makes the right decisions. Doesn't give the ball away. He's almost a wall pass continually to get out of trouble. And he's got that little fire and tenacity on the turnover of possession where he wants to go aggressive. And it's a nice balance.
Foden's first start in the Premier League. Have we been seeing the best of him again in the last week or two?
Yeah, Ali, I think so. Listen, when you're coming back from, obviously, the Euros in the summer and you're trying to gauge where a player's at, and they need the rest. You ask Phil, he'd say, I'm ready to go, I can play physically, but the manager is very astute in seeing players, seeing how their body language is, and really making that decision to, let's just hold him back for a little period. We did it with Rodri at the start of the season for the first few games, and but you're seeing moments and those tight spaces that we seem to find so difficult to create nowadays in the Premier League, because the distances between the units are so cramped that Phil Foden is that exceptional player that can find half a yard.
Well, let's just run you through the Fulham team. Andy's already referred to a couple of players that he's looking out for. In goal today, they've got Bernd Leno, then it's Kenny Tete, Calvin Bassey, Joachim Andersen, who they signed from Crystal Palace, Raul Jimenez, Adama Traore, Sander Berge, new signing from Burnley, Alex Iwobi, Andreas Pereira, Sasha Lukic and Anthony Robinson. They look strong to me. What strikes you about their 11 today?
I think they got a threat on set plays. Jimenez and Anderson are extremely powerful in the opposition box. So, we're going to have to manage that and deal with it. Traore has haunted us over the years. He had that afternoon here when he was at Wolves and, literally tore us to bits that day. And he can be unplayable. I want to see level foot start with him and Akanji and see just how quick Akanji is, because I've not seen anyone run Akanji, even with a level start. I've not seen a Premier League player be able to run him yet, so it'll be interesting today if he gets into that battle.
They've only made one change and they've taken out Emile Smith-Rowe to bring in Sander Berge. There's a lot of quality teams in this Premier League, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely, Ali, and we spoke about this last week, where I think when these teams get to that fifth window, which means you're in their third season, I do then think you begin to see a team that can stay in. I mean, Bournemouth have done it, Brentford do it, and these were a yo-yo club for a period of time, but they're firmly established, and what they did last year, they keep the ball really well, and we've got to make sure that we look after it, make sure we keep the ball, and no turnovers in possession, because, like I say, last year I was so impressed with the way they moved the ball and kept it.
Well, those are the thoughts of Andy Morrison. He is alongside me for co-commentary, so make sure you download the app for that, but don't do it until all the analysis of Matchday Live. Back to you in the studio, Kel.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Andy. So we can just get some pictures now of the Fulham team arriving here at the Etihad Stadium. That is what we're building up to, 3 o'clock kickoff here in the Premier League. Before we look at that Fulham team, I know Andy and Ali have just done a little focus there. Great start to the season for Fulham. Wins, of course, over Newcastle, Forest, Leicester. Currently 6 in the Premier League. What have you made of their start of the season? It feels like this has been building a bit, Kit.
They've done a really solid start to the season, but speaking to a few Fulham fans that I know, they're sort of bemoaning their points tally. They think they should have got something against United the first game.
Agreed.
It's a very late equaliser against West Ham, so they think they could be sitting sort of 3 points better off.
Yeah.
Which would put them level with City. So, I mean, they're sitting 6th. I'm like, calm down. They're doing all right, but they look really solid, and they've sort of very quietly gone about their business, and I think they've assembled a good squad. You look at the bench as well; they've got options on the bench, attacking players that can come on and make a difference. So, yeah, they're sort of like, he's done a really good job, Marco Silva, and they look like they've improved that little bit sort of each season, and they look to be a good side now. It
also, I mean, not to point out the obvious as well, because Enzo Maresca was speaking about, of course, you're looking at City, who have had, Pep for 8-9 years, they've stuck with Arteta, Arsenal 5 years. They've stuck with Silva a little bit as well, and you've probably seen as well the proof in the pudding with that, because of the performances that have been getting better and better season on season. Well,
that's right. And a lot of that is down to then the recruitment. It's sort of consistent with their recruitment for what the manager wants. So you assemble a squad of players for exactly what that manager wants, and sort of like the club ethos or whatever. And it's very important. Otherwise, if you change the managers too often, they all want different players, and you almost have a mishmash of players then, rather than, like I say, that, you know, what's best for the football club over the longer term. And Fulham seem to have done it now. They've got that part of it right, and they've assembled a very good squad of players.
We really have. Let's look at let's focus in on the team that's been chosen by Silver today. We just brought you there before. What were your initial reactions? Was a bit of a conversation there between you two?
Yeah, it's probably typical, because I've been waxing lyrical about Neil Smith-Rowe, and he's not even in the team today. So, but I think it just shows that Sander Berg coming in, they want to try and be really solid. They're probably the two midfielders sitting in front, with Pereira just ahead of them. So yeah, it's a bit surprised he's not in the team, because I do think he's a quality player. But it's a good, experienced team they've got, Kit, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and like I said, they look for that solid two to try and quell the City attacks. But easier said than done. You know, no matter how many players you put in that holding defensive midfield role, you know, City always tend to find a way. So, but I think it's a sensible lineup. Like I say, he's got options then on the bench if they need to bring them on.
Yep.
A bit like Reece Nelson, Smith-Rowe, and Muniz and players like that. So they've got some good attacking options, but they'll try and be solid. You know, they know, listen, it's City at the Etihad, as well as Fulham are doing.
Yeah.
They've lost the last 16 games against City in all competitions, so they're not coming here with great expectations. I think, like I say, they'll be quietly confident and their tails will be up. But also, you know, history says that, you know, City win this fixture.
Yeah.
You know, but listen, we don't want to tempt fate with that for sure. But you'd expect City to do the business today.
That's it.
Don't you think, because the start of the season and how well Fulham have done, that not that they'll treat this as a free hit today by any means, but because they've got points in the bag already, they might think that, do you know what, we can come here and maybe have a go at them, because we've got the start of the season we've had already.
Well, I think there'll be an element of that, but then, like we said about the lineup with Sander Berg, he's playing it careful. You know, if you come here and play too open from the off, you're going to be in big trouble, and you open yourself up to a whole world of pain. So I think again, they'll be pragmatic. I think they're confident, like you say, but I think then they'll make substitutions if they're still in the game towards the latter stages, second half certainly. They'll then look to maybe make changes to try and win it. Who knows? But like I say, staying in the game against City with the firepower, easy said than done. Absolutely.
Some of the players you mentioned there, and it'd be interesting to get your thoughts, Paul, is 4 ex-Arsenal players in the Fulham squad. Leno, Iwobi, Smith-Rowe and Nelson. Has that contributed as well, do you think, to the success we've seen, in part just because you've got 4 players who know each other, and how much of a difference can that make in a team?
I think obviously if you get into a club as a new signing and you've got players there that you know already and you've played with before, it's going to help you settle in first and foremost, on and off the pitch, which sometimes off the pitch can be just as important.
Yes.
But there's no doubt that they've signed quality players there as well. You know, Iwobi's done really well for them after sticky spell, you would say, at Everton, he's come in and he's made himself a starter more often than not. Reece Nelson the same, and Smith-Rowe, you know, they've sort of been there or thereabouts at Arsenal and the fringes. They've been coming in as the next big things, but there's no doubt the quality they've got as well. Whether coming to Man City today with the last few seasons going head to head with them, whether that's going to add a little bit of spice to it or not, I don't know. But from the player's point of view, once you leave a club, you've got to concentrate on the club that you're going to, you know, because you want to play, you want to get games, and the players like Iwobi, Leno, Smith-Rowe and Nelson, they weren't getting game time, you know, so you want to, you train every week, you train every day to want to start when you go out there on the pitch on a Saturday. So I think they'll be more concentrated and want to make an impression on Fulham than think about the Arsenal City thing.
And just from a City's point of view, obviously we've mentioned that they are looking like they're going to be a little bit more conservative, so to speak, and are aware of the challenge that they face. But threats going forward, who should we think keep an eye out on just in case?
As Andy said, Traoré has got history against City, and his pace, we know, is absolutely electric. And he's often been questioned about sometimes his end product, but he seems to have, he has spells, you know, and he's in a good spell at the moment. His end product seems to be very good, and he's very effective for the team. So he's always going to be a threat. I mean, Jimenez has started scoring goals now. He's always been a very good player. Obviously had his injury problems over the years, but he's now in a good goal scoring vein of form as well. So he's a real threat because he's got genuine quality as well. So, but City you'd expect would control the game, control possession, but then Fulham will be a threat on the counter, without a doubt.
And as we know as well, we have seen us lose a couple of goals to a counter. So fingers crossed, though, not today. We can actually probably look back at some of the goals as well. Manu was on the score sheet this time last season. Josko Gvardiol, we didn't get a chance to touch upon him at the start, but I mean, he just seems to have been really hitting a stride, and I don't know, it just feels this man can do anything, Paul.
He's such a good footballer, you know, and you think he's not even a left back.
I know.
You know, and
or a striker.
And he's 21, 22
Yeah.
years old. So he's just, since he's come in and, you know, beginning of last season, he's looked as if he's been at the club all the way through, because it can be difficult, as we know, for new signings to come into the club, the environment, how Pep wants to play. But he's probably one of the first names in the team sheet now, and the fact that he's adding goals to his games as well. And I think I've seen a stat that he's scored more goals than Gabriel Jesus.
Wow! Since
the start of the year, so it's just he's contributing in all ways, but don't take away these defensive qualities that he's got as well, because he's made some really good interceptions. Positionally, you'll know more about it than me, Kit, but when he's defending positionally, he's fantastic. Like, sort of way above experience-wise what his age shows.
Yeah, I mean, Kit, just to pick up on, as we say, we've seen his attacking prowess. I mean, the goal as well that we can see from last season, but obviously he's already been scoring again this season. But we can't forget he is a defender. Had that amazing Euros as well for Croatia. I mean,
ridiculous.
I don't. That's.
I mean, like Paul said, he's not traditionally a left back, and quite often he's our highest player, on that left hand side. But even, I mean, that's great for you. That's not like a defender, that goal. I mean, I couldn't do things like that.
No.
It's just like
I couldn't.
passing it.
That was a striker.
But it's fantastic. He's turning into like the complete. I mean, I think we knew we'd signed a very, very good player.
Yeah.
But I've got to be. I'm a bit surprised by some of his quality now in certainly forward areas. He's
100%.
been absolutely outstanding.
And defensively as well, there was when you get to watch the full games, obviously if you're watching highlights, you're maybe not privy to, you know, kind of some of the stuff that goes on throughout the game. But in the Inter Milan game, I think even in the Arsenal game as well, defensively, and his reading of the game, as you kind of alluded to, but it's someone who sits like 10 years is senior almost. Have you been surprised at how good as well his defending brain is, and one-on-one as well? I think that gets missed how great he is.
Well, again, his maturity is incredible for someone who's still, you know, we've talked to quite a few of these City players, still quite young players, but you sort of forget it because they're playing for Man City and they're, you know, and he's playing these big games week in, week out. But that's obviously helped them to mature and develop. And like, as Dickie said, the standards in training clearly are sky high every single day. No one can drop their levels or their standards at any stage at this football club anymore. That's just the way it is now, and that drives everybody on.
Yeah.
But it's hard as well when you're controlling the game, and he's quite a big emphasis on him going forward now, as we spoke about. But then to suddenly switch and get into that defensive mode straight away, and that defensive mindset, not everyone can do that. A lot of players get caught out if they're trying to do the both sides of it. But he's one certainly who seems to be able to do it with ease.
Yeah.
Switch straight back into that, being rock solid defensively.
When we done the, I don't know if I told you, Kel, we done the podcast with Kovacic.
Yes.
We were talking about Josko, and he said even at somebody so young, he said when he was 19, 20, the Croatian FA sort of changed the face of how they wanted defenders to look, and all the young players that are coming through now, whether it be right back, centre halves or left back, they're basing them on Josko Gvardiol.
Wow.
Which is huge praise for somebody so young at that age, for him to be a role model and people to look and base how they're going to defend for the Croatian national team. And I found it amazing when Kova told us that.
Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, especially like you say, for someone so young, and to come from Kovacic as well, of course, who alongside Modric has been probably the best player of the last decade. Also, technically, just the final thing in which I look, he's so graceful with the ball at his feet, and both. Yeah, I mean, I still can't quite work out which is his weak foot, but I never really see him lose the ball. His control's amazing. His technical ability as well is, I mean, so superior.
It is, but you know, he knows what he's going to do before he gets the ball 9 times out of 10. And as you said, his first touch is fantastic. And you see him here again. That's his right foot again.
You know, it's almost like they play wingers inverted, so they cut in from the left hand side onto their right foot. We do it by the left back. It's incredible to score goals. Fantastic.
The touch there, that touch.
It is, and then he takes that extra shot to get the shot away as well.
And it's a quick touch and an early finish, which was. Keeper can't quite get set, he's still bouncing.
Yeah, I mean, if
he gets set.
Haaland does that, we're buzzing, aren't we?
That's natural ability, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't really teach that.
Beautiful, there he is, our very own Josko Gvardiol. I also heard as well through the grapevine that they all have to have the Gvardiol beards, the Croatian young defenders now as well. That's what they have to go for. Right, let's take a look at the Premier League table then. 6 games in, of course, kind of shaping up to how I thought. Kit obviously seems to be the biggest threats at the moment. I think they're still winning 1-0 at Crystal Palace, but Liverpool and Arsenal seem to be the contenders, and us as well. Of course, we can bring it up on your screen now. Yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, sort of no massive surprises. I don't think really there. Chelsea probably the one who've got things together a little bit and could pose a threat as well. You know, with their squad again, we thought it was maybe a bit of a mishmash squad. We spoke about that earlier, but they seem to be coming together and things going in the right direction for them, certainly. But no big surprises there at all, really. I mean, I say Fulham in 6th is probably the biggest surprise looking at that table there.
And I do want to give a special mention to Aston Villa, Paul, because I mean they were so brilliant last season under Emery, and there's always the worry, like with Newcastle coming into the Champions League, how will they fare? But I mean the result against Bayern Munich, I mean also Villa Park was rocking. They really are doing something special down there, aren't they, Paul?
They are, and you know Emery's got to take so much credit for it. You know, he took a lot of unjust stick, I think, at Arsenal. And that could have, at his age, he thought I might jack it in, but then he goes back to Spain, then starts winning Europa Leagues again. And I think Villa bottom are in the relegation zone.
Yeah, they were down there.
And the job he's done there is unbelievable. And you know, I was rooting for Villa the other night there.
Same.
You know, Villa Park, as you said, was absolutely banging, and they got a well-deserved result against a top Bayern team. But I think that top 5 there, you know, already there's 2 points that separate them, so it just shows you how competitive the Premier League is. And I genuinely think this is going to be the hardest one to win this year.
I couldn't agree more. Do you know what I did hear today? And I think I'm right, so I hope I am correct. I don't want it to be fake news. That the start to the season we've had is the same start to the season as when we won the treble. Don't know if it's a good omen. We'll take it as a good omen.
Just leave it there.
We'll just moving on swiftly. Right, let's take a little pause here in the studio because if you follow your rugby, you might have seen that a certain Tom Amone copied Erling Haaland's Yogi celebration. So we thought, well, let's go. Let's head down there. Let's have a little chat with the man himself. So here's what happened when we caught up with Tom Amone.
Hi, I'm Tom Amone and I play prop for Lee Leopards.
Tom Amone makes it 8-0.
In our house, there's 2 teams that we support.
Monkey.
The area hits a shot. Oh, what a start! Bernardo Silva on his 30th birthday. Did I need to ask the question? Did I need to even hesitate?
So I was born and raised in Sydney, Australia. Life as a child, it was pretty chaotic. I'm one of 7, so you can imagine my parents running around. So I came in 2022 and I came obviously for rugby league. It's been here my 3rd year now and I'm loving every minute of it. The thing I've really enjoyed the most is, you know, seeing where this club was in 2022, being in championship, then getting promoted into Super League and then being able to win the Challenge Cup last year, I think is probably one of the greatest memories of my life, I think. And hopefully we still got one more to win at the end of this year. The bond that we have, I think we're a group of brothers, so every time we go onto that pitch, I think everyone's got each other's back and that's what makes us so special, I think. Definitely the weather. It's a lot warmer back in Australia and one of the other things that I found different was we relate football as soccer back at home, so it took me a while to adjust to calling it football instead. It's probably just team sport, I think. Just watching them, like the way they move the ball around and, you know, being able to run from end to end. Pretty mad, eh? It's pretty cool to do that. My son who's at school, Levi, he goes for Liverpool because he was born in Liverpool, Sydney, Australia, so that's the reason why he supports them. And then Ziggy obviously goes for Manchester City. He started practicing skills in that from watching YouTube, and they must have come across Haaland's highlights on YouTube, so you know they were watching the highlights. Obviously Ziggy's just loved him ever since then. He started doing the celebration and started singing Haaland's song all the time. Ziggy was born with heart conditions, so anything that I can do to make him happy, like I'll make sure I can do it. Oh, definitely Haaland. I think when he gets the opportunity to score goals, he takes them and he does well. But I think probably Jeremy Doku as well. Just the way he moves his feet and that, like I would love to see him on the wing, so it would be pretty cool to see that. Just his celebration and, you know, when he scores goals, he's even growing his hair too now, so it's pretty cool. I think he loves both, so definitely when he grows older, I'm going to try and push him into that football stage. Oh, look at this.
And if you look at the back.
Oh, look, Haaland signed it.
Well, there we are. That was beautiful. Thank you, Tom Amon, as well. And maybe a budding little City player in the making there for our women's team further down the line. Lovely stuff. Coming up after this, we've got an international break. I think around 13 players going on to represent countries. There's a lot of conversation, obviously, around about the fixture list at the moment as well, particularly with that Club World Cup in the summer. It's slightly worrying for fans as well, given the fixture load, Paul. Is it something that we should be concerned about with our players going away?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the Nation League games, I don't know, Kit's been involved in international set-up before, and I suppose it's a difficult one when you're on the coaching side because you want all your players to go there. But I think to have 2 international breaks already, and we're just into October, you know, the players do need a little bit of rest. You know, and we've seen 6 games played already, 7 with the Champions League games, and chuck a Carabao Cup game in there already. And as I said, we're in the first week of October. You know, so you've got to be careful because look, the Premier League and the football we see, especially here at the Etihad, is the best. And we want to see that sustained all the way throughout the season. And it's near impossible for the players in the Premier League at the minute to play all the games they're getting to get the best quality for a full season. Yeah, it's difficult. And as I think we've said on the show as well, it's no coincidence seeing the Erling Haaland we're seeing at the moment because of the proper break that he got. Same with Jack a little bit. From a coaching side, how difficult is it to manage? Because you've got the pride and joy of players wanting to play for their country, but then also you're trying to manage it with the fixture schedule and also fitness as well. It's so hard, Kit.
It is really difficult, and it's a real juggling act. And now, as Dickie was saying, like the Nations League, these used to be friendlies, these would be now, but now they're proper fixtures, if you like, and it carries a little bit more clout, so to speak. So the national teams have to take it not seriously, but have to do it in a different way, maybe.
Of course.
So it's the changing face of football, and it's putting too much pressure on. I say not too many games for a lot of clubs, but if you're a top club like City are, and you're playing in all the competitions, the number of fixtures it just becomes too many. And we've spoke about. This is Pep's choice to an extent, I suppose, but it's a fairly tight squad. So although we will rotate, it's still a lot of games for the top players.
Yeah.
And also, when you get into a groove, you don't want to be making changes. You know, you want to be keeping it as consistent as you can. Now, certain cup competitions that you will change, but when you're on a real good run in the league, for example, you maybe want to keep your back four pretty consistent. And things like that. So it's the way teams win football matches, you know, and win leagues, which is what we're looking to do. You know, we're at the top end of this, and it is very difficult, and it's a real juggling act and something you have to be very conscious of.
And I think these international breaks, I think they've got to be careful, UEFA and FIFA as well, because it's going to get to the point where the players won't want to go. Yeah. You know, the pinnacle of your career, and Kit will say that it's playing for your country, and it always was the same. But I think the amount of games that they're now having, and they want a rest physically and mentally just as much. Yes. That if they're constantly having, I mean, as I said before, 2 international breaks already is ridiculous. Frightening. You know, and the
like
players,
I say, they're competitive games as well. These nations, and so I think speaking to a lot of the top players or hearing from them, they're not big fans of this Nations League, but it's there. Yeah. You know, and it's again, we've
got to be careful because the players won't want to go.
No, not at all. And you couple that with those as well, which Pepper spoke about. You know, I think City might have asked for the start of next season to even just have 2 games pushed back, because if we were to go all the way in the Club World Cup, which is now a 32-team setup, that would mean that they play right up until the middle towards the end of July, and then the Premier League season would start the week after. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
That literally is.
For the Premier League to turn around and say that they won't postpone 2 games is a joke in itself.
Yeah, it's fine. The only other side of it, I guess, Kit, and as a manager as well, is that you then do maybe turn, and you have to because your hand has been forced, to some younger players. You know, we've got, you know, your O'Reillys, your McAtees and stuff that you will have to start using, which is great for them, and I guess one positive, if anything.
Yeah, it is. And we saw in the pre-season tour, you know, some of these young players coming through and really acquitting themselves very, very well. So from that side of it, there's always there's always positives to try and get, but it is just it's a brutal fixture list at the moment, and like I say, if it gets any worse now, it just dilutes the quality of the actual product, which you want to see is top class games of football, and it heightens the risk of injury towards these top players.
Yeah, which is
It's not. It's just a bit of common sense.
Yeah.
More than anything else.
Yeah.
Common sense over money, unfortunately.
Well, that's
not
it.
going to work.
That's
should do.
Yeah, but it never prevails. Well, fingers crossed something will give as well. Of course, I'm sure we'll be hearing more from players as we go. Speaking of young players, though, scoring his first City goal, and I loved it. I feel like his parents weren't actually watching the game because they were at a Northampton game, I think, or something, watching that live. But James McAtee, of course, Manchester City fan, been at the academy since he was a kid. Been out on loan at Sheffield, is now back part of the first team setup. Paul, with his first goal, and again, I know how closely you've been able to follow our academy and these young players. How great to see James McAtee get that first goal.
Delighted for him, because first and foremost, he's a great kid. He's got a great attitude, he's got great personality, very humble. But the last couple of seasons, going out on loan, especially last season, was difficult for him. Although from sort of Christmas onwards, he was probably one of Sheffield United's best players. But the experience through speaking to him he had from that tough season last season, the relegation, has really gave him something to kick on about. And going away pre-season, confidence-wise, was big for him. And Pep bigging him up in the press as well, saying that he wants him here, shows him as well. So to see him get on the score sheet is great, because, as I said, we've all watched him come through at such a young age. We know the quality he's got. He's a Pep type of player, because he likes to find little pockets, take the ball in tight areas. Technically, he's very good, and he's got a goal in him as well. So for yet another academy kid product to come through and get a Champions League, get a goal in the first team and make the Champions League, it's amazing to see, and I'm buzzing for James.
It's special as well. I mean, I know Ollie McBurney, who's now playing over in La Liga, but was at Sheffield, and he was saying in training the weeks, he says his quality was, actually kind of far superior to any of the Sheffield United squad, really. And you mentioned there Pep, who I think in his post-match interview as well says, I believe in McAtee more than he believes in himself. You see the importance of what it means to have a manager that backs you and can give you that confidence, and hopefully that will help improve James's confidence as well a bit, Kit.
I think so, for sure. And you can see how much that goal meant to him. It was a great finish, but he's looking straight over to the linesman just to check there was no flag. It meant the world to him. You can clearly see that. But I think, he's got a manager who believes in him, like you say, and teammates as well. They're all very quick to congratulate him on his goal, and he's clearly, as Dickie said, clearly a very good lad and a popular member of the squad. And one very, very talented. He's got a great future, I'm sure.
Does indeed. Sorry, go on, Paul.
Believing that he's there because he's good enough.
On merit,
you're a young kid and you do go into that environment. Sometimes you don't quite feel as if you're in there and everything else. But the fact that he's now playing in Champions League games, he's on the bench every week in the Premier League, coming on and getting games. Sometimes you've got to believe yourself that you belong in that environment as well.
And does that, what helps with that is obviously having the manager, but then as well, when you were talking about the start of the show, it's leaders as well, and it's the older players around him as well to help bed him in a little bit, Kit.
For sure, I think all the young players who come in, they've got. I mean, even then, like I say, we've already said Phil's still young, Vardiol's still young, but they're experienced now.
Yes.
And they'll help these young players, and they look around and think, oh, academy graduate. Anyway, within that environment, so that helps. And then all the, like I say, just generally the players as a whole want to help each other, and you can see that, like vocally, like giving information, and just with their sort of body language around the young players. It's a good environment to come into.
Yes.
And it can be quite daunting. Now, we both came through as young players, and it can be tough. It's a tough school, but they make it as easy as possible, and that transition as smooth as you can with this, like I say, this environment that Pep's created.
Yeah, by them players. I also want to point out, can we run the goal again? And mark my words, I feel like Khaldoon might mention this in his end of season review, okay? Because that is an academy goal. It's Rico Lewis who starts it here, finds McAtee, and then the final three passes is Rico to Phil to McAtee, goal. That is. It's an academy goal. I mean, when you talk about the products line of this CFA, which I want to pick up on a second part of that in a second, but to see that in the City shirts, that is why we put the investment in, and this is what we've been waiting to see, Paul.
Yeah, well, the academy is the best out there at the minute. And Speaking to one of the coaches during the week, and me and Kit touched on it before, that the group that's coming through now, they believe is going to be even better from the 16s, you know.
Really?
And part of that, they play up all the time, you know. The 16s went and played in the 18s Champions League and won 4-0 at a canter, you know, and these kids are 16-year-old.
Yeah.
And they're so far ahead in development than a lot of other players at their age and at a lot of other clubs. But, you know, to see that, Phil, Rico, back to Phil, into McAtee and then getting his goal, it's what every club wants to see, and more importantly, it's what the fans want to see as well. They want to see their own coming through, especially here at Man City.
100%, and 3 City fans as well, which just makes it all that little bit sweeter. And something that I've clocked, and I don't think it gets spoken about enough, is I was looking through the Premier League kit, and I'm pretty sure, and I will do my homework so we can talk about it more when I'm next on, but I think at least 10 teams in the Premier League have all got 1, if not 2, Manchester City Academy graduates. So it's not even like what we're producing for our club, but it's actually on the Premier League itself. It's frightening, really, isn't it?
Well, it is, and it goes to show the quality of the work that's been done over a long period of time with academy graduates coming through. It's not what's happening at the moment, it's what's been done over quite a long period of time. And that's Premier League you're talking about, Cal, but then you go down the pyramid, there'll be players earning really good livings and who've come through the academy at lower levels as well. So it's brilliant, and like I say, but it's no fluke. It doesn't just happen. It's a lot of thought and a lot of hard work from a lot of people. So the club deserve a lot of credit for that.
They do indeed. And there he is, just making his way out. Speak to him, James McAtee. And there is almost the poster boy of the academy, the one who broke through and made it into that first team and set the path for all our other young players like Rico, like James. And I can tell you that we have got an exclusive doc on our very own, the Stockport Iniesta Phil Foden. You can get it on City Plus. If you've not signed up, honestly, it's well worth it. There's so many brilliant documentaries on there. There's exclusive content. We stream games on there as well, and I think it's only a couple or few quid, so well worth it. But we have got a brand new Phil Foden documentary. I've had a sneak, and you're in for a treat.
I mean, he was obsessed.
He was obsessed.
I was just obsessed with football.
He's turned into such an outstanding football player.
He's already one of the best players in the Premier League. I think the future is all his.
He'll be up there with the best players in the world. He could be a Ballon d'Or winner.
He sort of sat back and was like, wow, you're going to be a really special player.
He was doing all these magical things at such a young age.
Phil was the smallest one, but if he was on your team, you knew you were going to win.
He can be running for 90 minutes. He doesn't stop.
Phil in that game was he was the most Brazilian player on the pitch.
Genuine love for playing football.
Whatever he wants to achieve, he can get it.
He's just a lad from Stockport.
Statue next to yours as well.
You probably have a whole stadium for him.
So make sure you are signed up to City Plus One so you can be the first to watch that Phil Foden doc, and as I say, get all that exclusive content as well as all the games we stream on there, like our under-18s or our EDS. Our under-18s were in action earlier today. Both our EDS and under-18s are on a 3-game winning streak, and our under-18s turned that to 4 after beating Brighton today 4-1. Fantastic again. I mean, just to kind of reiterate the point, Paul, but really exciting to say that chatting to the members of staff over there, that these crop of players coming through are maybe even more exciting and could even surpass what we've seen already.
Yeah, they are. And as I said, I think it helps them in their development, them playing up a couple of years as well. Kit will tell you that, and they're not just they're fantastic athletes as well. But you watch the 18s, you watch the 14s, you can go over the road and watch the 12s sometimes. And you could be sitting here watching Pep's team, the structure and the philosophy all the way through the club. They all play the same way, and you look at the goals they're scoring, that's ridiculous. Get it done, what a strike that is. But the production line of the players coming through now, it's unbelievable. And these kids here that are 16, 17, 18, they've got the guiding lights now, and Rico and Phil and James McAtee. you know, and Nico O'Reilly, all the ones that are making a breakthrough now, they can finally see that there's a pathway, not just for a Phil Foden to come in, but for 4 or 5 in future years to come. And you know, that really kicks you on, because it gives you that appetite to go and do it.
And there's still quite a lot of clubs where the academy almost works separate from the first team. But the joined up thinking here that Paul was talking about there is brilliant. It's the club, again, ethos or whatever, it runs all the way through, top to bottom. You can see there's a real sort of connectivity between the first team we're going to see today and the under-18s, the 16s that Paul talks about, and I'm sure going even lower down into the academy age groups, it'll be the same thing. It's like I say, it's the bigger picture. City is one of those bigger picture clubs. They look at the whole thing and succession plan and for the future as well. It's not just all about what's happening with the first team now. There's a big focus on what's to come for future years for this football club.
And it's no surprise as well, Paul, which is why whenever we see an O'Reilly coming into the fold, you know, and starting to make a name for himself, when Rico first came into the fold, or now James, that they fit in so seamlessly, but it is because, like what Kit has mentioned there, it's the bigger picture, and this is so thought out now. The route and the way we play is echoed throughout, and that's why we see players just naturally fit like a glove.
It's the pathway that they've got all the way through. You know, the training's the same, how they set up in games, the tactics are the same as well. So when they do come in, you know, I think Pep said, was it last season, the season before, that when the kids come up, he wants them to be ready. You know, and there's no excuses for them. For the last 5 or 6 years, they've trained that way, they've played that way. So when they do step out there, all right, Pep wants to help them, wants to explain to them, but they should know, it should be ingrained up there. What the DNA of the club is, and then
against Watford the other week, he stepped in with what, one training session
16.
or a couple of training sessions, and only a couple of EDS games even. But because it's consistent throughout the academy, I mean, it didn't look out of place at all, did he? It was tremendous on the night. You think that's incredible, but that's testament to the work that's done all the way through the academy.
Yeah, it really is. That was a fantastic turn for our young 16-year-old left back. It was great. Well remembered, actually, Kit. I wanted to quickly mention, we mentioned James McAtee. First goals. That was his first goal. Did you both, obviously, I'm guessing for players, it's a memory you never forget. Do you remember when your first goal was, Kit?
First goal ever. First goal
for.
Well, I didn't score many. Dickie's one to talk to about goals. I can't remember my first one actually. Probably QPR, maybe, was it? Or?
Yeah, would you spot on? Yeah. QPR in February. And
must have been a blinder as well, I'm sure. Yeah.
Do you remember yours, Paul?
I do. Port Vale away.
There we go. Nice.
That was important because not long came to the club and had a couple of games without scoring. You know, as a striker, it's important to try and get off. Really disappointed in producer Darryl that he's not got the clips of our goals.
I was going to say, where are they? What's going on?
Do you know what? I talked about keeping high standards for us in front of the camera. Well, the same goes behind the camera, so that's noted.
Kel, how many times have you been in a show and just said sloppy?
Sloppy. Yeah. If Pep was in here, he'd be running riot back there. I'm just saying.
Well, if we're not showing it, my goal was a mazy dribble. I beat 8 players and put it in the top corner, 35 yards.
I've seen it. Yeah.
That's right.
It's a screamer. Right, let's head down to pitch side because Ali Man is joined by a trio of brilliant guests. We've got Olympic medalist James Guy, Matthew Hudson-Smith, and Martin Rooney.
Yeah, thanks, Kel. Welcome to Pitchside. I've got 3 Olympians with me, James Guy, Matthew Hudson-Smith and Martin Rooney. Now, the man immediately to my right, not only is he an athlete, a swimmer, but a gold medalist and all that kind of thing. More importantly for this show, he's a City fan. Let's get on to the Olympics second. City fan, born and bred, yeah?
Of course, mate, born and bred. You know, I was born in Bury. My mum and dad are from Rochdale, so yeah, I feel like the city's in my blood, and I've been for a very, very long time.
Of course, the swimming routine means you probably didn't get here very often when you were a supporter, were you?
No, unfortunately not. You know, the early mornings and, you know, obviously being away on weekends away and travelling a lot, but, you know, to be here today to see City beat Fulham is always very nice.
You're that confident?
Of course, you know, I think like most sports athletes and, you know, competitors are always confident in themselves, but not in an arrogant way, but, you know what, you can kind of see the result before it's even happened, so, yeah, I'm sure it'll be a good day.
When you are obviously all over the world doing things and all the training, how do you keep across the football?
You know, for me, obviously just kind of reading on BBC Sport, looking into that, Sky Sports News, checking Instagram. You can always have the Man City app on my phone, so always checking on the updates, see who's moving where, who's injured. Obviously, KDB's out at the minute, unfortunately, but I'm hoping Grealish will score today. That'd be great if he can score.
Well, it's good to see your medal around your neck and yours as well. I have to say, I suffered the agony of your pip to the line in that final. Are you over that disappointment?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I said once the race was over, that's just the start, and you know, now it's time to build for the next 4 years of dominance and get that gold, really.
Are you a football fan?
I am a football fan, and you know, since the past 3 years of being with Puma, Man City's looked after me. Every year I've came here, I've done better and better, and you know, just keep it on the tradition really. And Man City's just a great team and a great club that look after me and you know support me along my journey as well.
Is this kind of your off season, or are you still at it at the moment?
It's definitely my off season. I've had a long year, and you know, and just need a mental break and just refresh my mind, and then you know, like I said, just get back onto the horse and next 4 years of dominance, and you know, try and emulate what Man City do and be dominant, and just get the goals and keep winning, and hopefully get a world record.
Dare I ask you who your football team is?
You know what? I'll be real, I haven't watched that much football since moving to America, but like I said, because you know the link with Puma and everything, it's gonna be Man City now because they just look after me, and you know, I've been to the training ground, I've been to the matches every time I'm here, and like I said, it doesn't harm the fact that they're always winning. They got great players like Haaland, Jack Grealish, and yeah, just great team, great support, and yeah, just amazing.
Well, no, thanks for joining us today. Martin, a football fan I know, but you're probably got your eyes on the events at Selhurst Park at the moment.
Yeah, I'm a Palace fan, but I'm actually here for City's points today. I need 3 points to City just to kind of help us on our quest to staying in a better position.
And what about yourself? Have you always been into football? Is that a passion you've always had?
Yeah, like I grew up like most kids wanting to be a footballer. I found athletics. I found it was something that was probably better being an individual athlete, but also with athletics we have the team elements and relays, and that's kind of where I thrive. So it's where my passion is, but football is definitely something been part of my life.
And where do you sit at the moment in terms of your year?
So for me, I coached the 4x4 teams. So we had successful games. We came away with 3 medals and 3 national records. The European record, Matt was an integral part of that. And that's been my journey. And now we're in the off season, but planning for the next 4 years. Taking inspiration from people like Pep and the City Group and what they do. Like they create cultures that it's a winning culture that you want to be a part of, and that's what we're trying to do with UK Athletics and the 4x4.
But it's kind of what Matthew was saying as well. Is it a 4-year cycle, a 4-year build-up? Is that what it's all about?
Olympics, for every Olympic athlete, it's about what's going on. They're always building to that end of that 4-year cycle, and with that, there's like a massive pressure, the same as any sport. But it's just knowing that at the end of that 4 years, you kind of get to a little sit down, a little bit of a break, and it's great to see that Matt is here and he's had a nice off season, and we're also thinking about where do you go to the next couple, where do you go forward from here. So it's going to be an exciting couple of years for us as a sport. We have within our events we've done very well, so we're looking to just copy the City Group and Man City and keep winning stuff.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you as well. I've got to grab this guy because he's taking photos, he's doing videos. You're taking the opportunity to be pitch side. Is this a bit of a pinch me moment, this one?
Oh yeah, of course. I feel like, you know, being around these players, obviously Edison over there and Scott Carson is just fantastic, and watching the Man City thing all or nothing a few years ago, and that was like, you know, really brought for me the City being alive, and you know, being so close to them now, and hopefully see some of the players walk around a bit. It'll be amazing.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Just quick look at the medal. Look at that. That's what it's about. And it's not your only one either.
No,
you've got more to come.
More at home, which is quite nice. You know, but for me, you know, in terms of this one, obviously having the Paris symbol here, and obviously get the way I swam it as well was the personal best time for myself. Playing my part for the team, and you know, to be defending Olympic champions with these guys is, you know, in the history of the sport, never been done before. The same 4 athletes is very, very, very special. So yeah, quite nice.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the day with us as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There you go. Some fantastic Olympians. Back to you, Kel.
Ali, fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. 5 medals as well back at home. That's all right, isn't it? Oh, how great is it to see that man there, of course, still just coming back from an injury, but our king there, Kevin De Bruyne, is at the Etihad Stadium. That's some live pictures down pitch side from the Etihad Stadium, because of course we bring you all the action live from here. We've got just under 20 minutes till our 3 p.m. kickoff against Fulham. Quite appropriately that we're showing, Kev, because I wanted to speak to you after it was something that the Slaven boss said earlier in the week, Vice, of course, who called Pep a genius and compared him to Gaudi, which, to be fair, I think was quite a fair comparison, although I know Pep never likes really getting comparisons like that. But it just got me thinking about footballing geniuses as a whole, managerial or players. Kevin De Bruyne are a great example of a footballing genius. For you guys, were there any that stand out in your time, either, you know, managers or players that were just, you know, almost that next level up almost, Kit?
Obviously, my sort of playing time here, I mean, King Clancy was a mercurial talent, and just being probably on a different level to the rest of us. Now, he's probably not what we needed in a relegation scrap either, in some ways, but for just natural ability and sort of running with the ball and as a talent, he was exceptional.
What about for yourself, Paul?
Yeah, George is up there, but he was a little git sometimes, wasn't he?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. When you done a away game on a Tuesday night to Southend, yeah, it was.
Like I say, in a relegation scrap, probably not what was needed. As an actual
I
talent.
wouldn't have called him a genius.
No,
down at Southend.
We called him a few other
night.
things. Yeah.
He did get called a few things as well. Probably a kid coming through. I used to love Ian Wright. Just for how hard he worked and his finishing and everything he'd done. I've never seen, still to this day, anybody working his game as much as he used to do. You know, he was scoring 30 goals a season, winning European Golden Boots, and he'd be out in the afternoon training himself, just hitting the ball in the back of the net. And I remember he used to take me out and a couple of other younger strikers, and he was off his head, right? But he used to say things like, "Did you hear that?" And there's nobody there, and it'd be like the ball hitting the back of the net. You know, it's the best sound you'll ever. And he used to consistently every single day.
Was it not like Phil though? Just loved football. You know, we're talking about Phil Foden now. Just the pure love of the game, and that's brilliant. I mean, that's such a strong thing to have in it.
It is, and I think because I don't think he came into the professional game until he was 23, 24, and then the way he came in and the goals he scored and everything about him, for me, it's not something I'll never forget.
Imagine, I don't know, managers as well, I mean, Cloughie as well, I mean, I can only imagine, you know, what was that kind of like, do you know what I mean, with someone of that ilk, another footballing genius, you'd say.
I mean, yeah, you hear stories from the Clough era, and it's, I mean, incredible stories, and some of the sort of off-the-wall stuff that he used to come out with, but very effective, and I mean, all his ex-players speak so fondly of him as well. He was eccentric, clearly, and had different ways of doing things, but was clearly loved by his players.
They kind of...
Nigel had a little bit about him.
Of
his dad.
Yeah, when he came in,
Because I obviously played with Nigel here, but then he signed McDerby for a little bit and managed under him very quickly. We played away, I think it was Swansea on a Friday night, and we got battered 6. It was the longest journey back ever, and I'm thinking to myself, he's going to be in tomorrow morning. He's like, nah, see, he's Monday. So all weekend, we're thinking we're going to get battered next week. So we went in training on the Monday, and as we're driving in Derby's training grounds, you can see all the pitches, and he was walking down, you know, the measurement thing, walking all the way around the pitch, and we think, oh no,
here we go.
We're running. So they called a meeting, they said, look, that's gone the Friday. We all went out on the pitch expecting to, they said everybody trainers on, so we're thinking, oh no, here we go, getting battered. We played cricket, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We didn't see a football one. We went out and beat Sheffield Wednesday 4-0 on the Saturday.
No way.
So, the little things like that you can tell he would have got from his dad. I'd never played cricket. I'm Scottish. Do you know what I mean? I'd never played cricket in my life before. I'm standing there with these pads on. After just getting beat 6, but little things like that, I suppose he would have got from his dad. Well, it's genius in a way.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because you were saying doing things a little bit different. That's something they kind of all seem to share. You know, Cloughie, when it was Wenger coming in and the way he started to look at different moulds of players and stuff like that, kind of seems to be part of it, that they just see or think about. Maybe we could say a little bit mad or genius, or it's that fine line, isn't it? I guess, Kit.
It is, and it's got to be. I mean, it's got to be enjoyable for the players as well. So. I mean, you talk about like this, we talk about standards and stuff at City every day, but they have a laugh as well. You can see, you know, you've seen stuff around the training ground. There's players with a smile on their face. They're enjoying what they're doing, and that's a big part of it as well. And for young kids coming through and everything, the enjoyment part of it is massive. If you keep enjoying your football, for me, you stand a great chance of progressing and reaching your level.
Yeah.
But that enjoyment side of it, even at this top level, elite level here now, it's so important still.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And you actually get to see, when you get to watch them in training or any videos, you see how much they are loving it, our players. Right, so we have got a women's in action tomorrow. Alistair Mann is now pitchside. He is joined by none other than club legend Jill Scott.
Welcome again to Pitchside. I'm joined by someone who doesn't really need an introduction these days, but we're going to call her a former City legend in Jill Scott, but you're many other things besides Jill. What kind of reception do you get when you ever come back here? I imagine it's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, you know what? I love coming back to City. Spent 8 years here playing, and yeah, it's great to come back. I brought my nephew because it's his birthday, so yeah, it's always such a great atmosphere, and looking forward to the game today.
I still can't believe that the only time that City have won a WSL is still 2016. Oh. Are you amazed that it's not happened so many near misses since?
Oh, honestly, I really thought last season they were going to get it, and you just couldn't write the end of that season. But yeah, I think in 20 years that I played in kind of the top league, I only won it once, so this place holds very special memories for me. I think we did the treble that year, but you know what, I'm going to say that they're going to win it this year. This is the year that they get it again.
Well, they've started pretty well, to be fair to them, but it's a bit of a new look City. A lot of your former teammates have moved on. Does it feel a little bit transitional at the moment for City?
I think people would say that because of new faces coming in, but when I've watched them, the structure's still the same. Obviously the girls know the tactics inside out, and you can see players then just slot so easily into how the Man City way of playing is. So still got Lauren Hemp, Chloe Kelly, Alex Greenwood, Bunny Shaw, so some fantastic players, and as I say, I'm looking forward to watching them this season, and they've had a pretty good start as well.
Yeah, talking about watching them, it's on live tomorrow, by the way, on City Plus, the game against West Ham. There's a lot of games being played here at the Etihad as well. Friday, November the 9th, for example, Spurs. What does it tell you about the number of games that are being played, not just here at the Etihad, but the Emirates and so on and so forth? Yeah,
it's great. I think it goes to show that if you give the women's game the opportunity, then the seats will get filled, and it's so exciting that the girls are going to be playing here. I remember us playing against Man United here, and there was about 30,000-40,000, so I would love the girls to sell it out, because it is very special when you go into a main stadium like the Etihad or like the Emirates and you experience that atmosphere, and for me, I believe that's where the women's game should be played more. So yeah, some exciting games to look forward to.
And tell me, what's the last couple of years been like? We all saw you win I'm a Celebrity, but what kind of things has been snowballing since for you?
It's honestly, it's just been crazy. I can't believe it's been 2 years since I retired. I actually had a kickabout yesterday because I do miss just getting the ball out and playing football. But yeah, had some fantastic opportunities, doing a podcast with some of the ex-professional male players, which is going well, been doing a league of their own. So yeah, it's kind of fell into this sport and comedy kind of bracket, but I'm loving every minute, and I think that's why I've got more wrinkles, because I'm just constantly laughing all the time. But I don't know what the future will bring, but I just believe if I keep working hard, then who knows what tomorrow will bring.
When you think back to the early days of City and your time here, I mean, can you just describe what has happened to the game in that time?
I actually can't believe it. I drove in today and parked where the athletic stadium is, and that used to be our home pitch, right in the middle of the athletic stadium. Probably had about 200 people coming along, and now to fast forward probably 10 years, it's absolutely incredible, and that's why I'm so excited for the future of women's football. I never thought it would be where it is now. It deserves to be there. Still a bit of work to do, but it's just so exciting for the future, because as I say, going back to 2013, it's like night and day.
Just have one final thought. I mean, I know the years have gone on now, but that Euros moment, I mean, was that the pinnacle? Was that the greatest moment of your career?
You know what? I still struggle to talk about it. I think when you've played for England for so long, obviously getting international success is always the dream. And to do it personally in my last game, it was just perfect. But I'm so grateful to have been part of such a fantastic team. And yeah, I still get goosebumps now. I still keep getting tagged in pictures and memories and stuff like that. And I always share them, because it definitely was the best day of my life, and I think it always will be.
Well, it's always a pleasure to see you back here at the Etihad. It's a shame you still don't sound Mancunian after all these years. You managed to maintain your accent.
I know, I've kept this Mackham accent. I don't know how. I think it's because I was with Steph Houghton at City for so long, so yeah.
Lovely for joining us again today. Jill Scott, back to you, Kel.
Thanks, Sally. Jill, great to have you on the show as always. Looking forward to that game against West Ham as well. And just wanted to point out as well, while we are on international break, our women's team are in action against West Ham, Barcelona, Liverpool and St. Pollen, with games as well at the Joy Stadium. So if you're around Manchester and can get down, we'd love to fill that stadium and support our women's team. Right, gents, just under 2 minutes to go before we hand over to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison for commentary. So before I get predictions, we of course have got a game we're playing throughout the season, which is guess the possession. Very, very simple. Guess how much possession City will have in the game. The closer you are, so say if we have 60% possession and you guess 59, you'll score 1 point. The further away you are, more points. Person who has the least points at the end of the season has guessed the most possessions right. So Paul, do you want to have a stab at maybe our possession today? It's a tough one, this.
It's another stupid quiz that I've got in there. Who's thought this one up this time?
Well, producer Jamie's come up with this one, Paul.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, well done, Jamie. I'll go 74.
74 from Paul.
64.
64 from Kit. I'll go 68% possession. 68% possession. So there's our guess to our possession game. Boys are in the tunnel, so before I hand over to our commentary team, need to get some predictions, please. Kit, I'll begin with you, sir.
3-1 City win, one of them being a penalty.
Ooh, mate, okay. With a little penalty shout in there, love that from Kit. Paul?
I was going to go 3-1, so I'll go 4-1.
4-1.
Haaland hat-trick.
Really? Ooh. Okay, Haaland back to the hat-trick way. So there you have it. 4-1 from Paul, 3-1 from Kit. Thank you so much to our guests. They will be back at half-time with myself in the studio full-time, so make sure you come join us. But right now, make sure you get that Manchester City app, or however you get that up on your computer. Get the commentary team ready, because it's Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison. I'm going to hand over to them now. Thank you so much for watching. Our boys in blue are ready to take on Fulham in this 3 p.m. kickoff at the Etihad Stadium. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you at half-time. Come on, City.
Thank you, Kel. Welcome to the Etihad Stadium. It's a mild, sunny afternoon, and the reality is conditions are absolutely ideal. The pitch has been watered, as it always is ahead of home games, and the Blues are up against the side who also have really excellent footballing principles. It will be a major surprise if they park the bus and sit deep throughout the entire contest.